So if any of you grow bored over the next 3.5 hours, you have nothing, no one to blame but Francesca. There were two people responsible for me being in the restaurant business. Probably 90% was Jimi Hendrix, who you all may know as a great rock and roll guitar player, and 10% was a guidance counselor named Marty Smonian, who I'll get to later. But 1964, I think it was February, I was sitting in the living room watching Ed Sullivan, the Beatles came on, and about 5 minutes into the show, I realized that was my destiny. I was going to be a rock guitar player. So I borrowed a bunch of money from my father and got a guitar, and my grandfather paid for lessons, and I was studying real hard and playing at middle school dances. And then I heard Jimi Hendrix, Are You Experienced that one? And I went, oh shit, this is hard. So I kind of immersed myself in Jimmy's music, but I couldn't get the tone. I had a $50 Sears amp, you know. So I tried all my electronic knowledge, which could fill a thimble, and I kind of hot-wired the thing, blew it up. I hacked up the speakers with razors to try and get that fuzz tone. So I blew the amp up for the third time. My father says, "You're an idiot. I'm not giving you any more money. If you want another amp, get a job." So I lied my way into a dishwasher's job in 1968, 50 years ago. And I met a guy named Shorty, who was the first chef and my mentor. And Shorty was about a 5'3" guy who had a 4th grade education, but was a kitchen savant. He could do 800 dinners without a dupe. He never had dupes. So waitresses would come in, they would yell out their orders, 6 steaks, 5 for the lobster, that, and somehow he worked it all out. But his two greatest attributes were an ability to drink 2 bottles of vodka a day and a penchant for carrying unlicensed firearms, which was kind of a seductive combo platter for a 15-year-old street kid. So I spent 3 years studying under Shorty. And the result was I wasn't getting to school much because of all the shenanigans that were going on in the kitchen afterwards, whatever. And Carl Place High School decided I wasn't showing up as much as I should, so they sent me down to Artie Smonian for some guidance. So Artie and I got to be friendly because I spent more time in the guidance office than I did in the classroom. And he said to me, "Have you thought about what you want to do when you grow up?" Now, I couldn't really tell him I wanted to be a cook because I was into motorcycles and guitars, and it was kind of like the thing he didn't want to let out, you know? So he goes, "Well, why don't you study mortuary science?" I said, "Well, why would I do that?" He says, "Well, you wear black all the time." I said, "Why don't I just become a guidance counselor? It doesn't seem that hard." But anyway, Artie told me, he goes, "There's this chef school up in Connecticut, CIA, why don't you check it out?" So it turns out I went up there and went through school and got out and graduated and started peeling beets like the rest of us. And I kind of got into this thing where I thought I was, like all of us here who own businesses, we're like 10% of the people in the world. We think we can do it better than everybody else. And I was no different. My capacity for self-delusion is limitless. So I was talking to my friends about how much I knew more than the boss, and my friend finally said to me, "Why don't you just shut up and open your own restaurant? I can't take it anymore." And we did. We scraped together a bunch of us, there was 4 of us, scraped together $10,000 a piece and opened up Panama Hatties in 1983. So while we were in Panama Hatties, I had a guy come in, he goes, this is like 4 years later, he says, "I got a guy who wants to buy your business." I said, "Well, it's not for sale." He says, "Well, just put a number out. What the hell?" So I gave this enormous number, and he came back the next day, and the guy says, "Fine, I'll take it." And I'm like, "Really?" So I called my partners and said, "I think I just sold the restaurant." I don't know, this guy's willing to pay this. He's like, "Really?" So I got guilty, being Catholic, I had that guilt back. So I said to the broker, "Tell him to just knock me down, some thousands and thousands of dollars." So he did, and the guy came back and he says, "Look, this is my final offer." I'm like, "Well, you're a tough negotiator. I guess I'm gonna have to go with that." And we sold it. And I decided to go to the Hamptons. So we sold it for a fortune. We moved out to the Hamptons. I bought a place out there. And it was 1987. And the reason I mention the year is any of you who are in the stock market know what happened in 1987. So there it was in the Hamptons, and just couldn't wait to get open. I was going to hang out with Paul McCartney and Christy Brinkley and all that. And I was playing golf at Maidstone in a tournament on Black Monday, and I saw people on the roof. And I'm like, "What are they doing?" "They're jumping." Why? Anyway, the Hamptons completely disappeared. And so I hung on for about another 4 years and went completely broke. And I was in debt. They repossessed my car. They shut off my electricity, and I could only get incoming phone calls. So I was all upset because I wasn't going to be able to get in for Christmas with my daughter. My friend Roger, who I know since kindergarten, who's this ex-Hells Angel crazy guy, right? Calls me up and he goes, how's it going? How's it going? Not well. What's that? So I told him I lost this, I lost that, the other thing. He goes, well, could be worse. I said, yeah, I can't get into the, for Christmas with my daughter. Well, it could be worse. Yeah, they shut up my electric, could be worse. I got mad. I said, how could it be worse? He said, could have happened to me. You think this is funny? I don't think this is funny. He goes, yeah, I think it's funny. It's not funny. I'm going to come in there and I'm going to kick these. You can't. You don't have a car. And the more he started razzing me, the more I was so mad I started to laugh. And he goes, look, I know you a long time. Get off your rear end, knock it off, stop feeling sorry for yourself, and get it back. So I did. I went and I got this job in Port Washington. I was living in East Hampton. I got this job in Port Washington. And it was executive chef at 2 restaurants, and it was paying very well at the time. About 2 days before I was supposed to start, I got a phone call from a guy named Mike Buffer, who I knew to be a mover and shaker in Montauk. And he says, I got this restaurant I'm opening up in Montauk. I like your food. I've been to your restaurants. Why don't you come out and maybe we can talk about something? So I went out to see him. So he offered me a job at $1,000 a week for 15 weeks in Hamptons, in Montauk. So I was talking to my father, who always thought I was crazy, right? And he says, so let me understand this. You have a job offer that's a lot of money here in Nassau County. Your daughter lives here. Your girlfriend lives here. Everybody's here. And you're going to Montauk for 15 weeks for $1,000. I said, yeah. He goes, you're an idiot. He had a strong point, But I did. I went to Montauk and I just had a feeling. So we had a successful season. At the end of the season, Mike says, what are you going to do? I said, well, I have all this debt. I can't sit around doing nothing for the winter, so I'm going to have to go get a job. He says, well, what if I pay for the winter, make you a partner, and I'll give you $15,000 to fly around and just get some ideas, just go eat around the country. And he did. And subsequently, Mike and I opened up 7 restaurants after that. So fast forwarding to today, I bought and sold and consulted for probably 25, 30 restaurants. That's the great question is how many were there, I don't know. But the bottom line is now I have 5 catering company and all's well. So if there's any kind of wisdom I can impart to this group of successful people here, it's number 1, embrace your mistakes and your losses because you'll learn more from them than all your winners, Yeah, right. Yeah. 2 is, I'll tell you a quick story. I was being interviewed by a magazine. They asked me who my greatest influence was in the restaurant business. And I think they were thinking to hear Escoffier or Karam or Wolfgang Puck or somebody like that. And I said, Muhammad Ali. And they go, what? And I, yeah, Muhammad Ali, why? Break his jaw, he finishes the fight. Knock him down, he gets up. Rest him, he gets out and wins the championship. He couldn't be beaten. And I think that was the model for me. And the second thing I want to impart is when you get knocked down, get off your ass, because resiliency is the key to long-term success. Resiliency and stick-to-itness and toughness. And 3 is follow your dream. Don't let anybody else tell you wrong. You know what's good for you. It's your future, and you got a lot to say about it. So thank you for listening, and I appreciate you being here.
Well, thank you, Chef Tom. Each one is more fabulous than the other and different, completely different, each restaurant. Actually now, Mitch, if you would just come up we have a check for our charity.